wonder why. Okay, maybe it's just how it is. Hi, Terri.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. It's lovely to see you, and I know it's a little bit early there. I can see. Oh, you're in the. Is it the mango room? Did you call it?
Yes, my mango room. Yes, and this is the room where I do my readings.
Is it?
It is. Well, I use this room, and at times I use my dining area. So it's whatever people feel comfortable using. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And tell us about the readings, because I've interviewed you before. I can't remember how long ago it was now, but you spoke a bit. We spoke a little bit about the readings, but since then I've spoken to you
Mhm.
in the interim, and you do so many. You do actually quite a few different offers, don't you? So do you want to tell us about how about starting with is it the Russian? What's it called? Russian cards?
It's a Russian Tarot Fortune reading cards. It was given to me by a friend years ago. I want to say back in 1992, actually. And she knew I had the gift. And she says, Terri, you deserve to have these cards. So when I opened it up, it was a gorgeous box. It was black and it was ordained with different gold colors, and it just had that on there. So I was intrigued by the book, and just opening it up. And when you're new at it, you have it. It's either it can be taught, but I was self-taught. So I
Okay.
basically started with the guidance of the cards, but then I said, you know what? Something told me, Terri, close that book. See what you can do on your own. So once I learned the format by the author, who prefers to have it done, it's like a puzzles going across, basically, and you match them up. They're very unique. Not many of us actually read these cards specifically. I have one other girl I know up north in New Hampshire who does them, but they're very unique. So I felt honored to have these cards in my possession. And what's interesting, the origin of the author, she's from Russia and ironically Catholic, which I'm not, but that's okay. But I love using them. I felt energetically connected to them since day one. And as I explained to clients, as I explained to the audience or anybody else, they're all divination tools. You can actually, if you took the time to open up your mind, you can read people without them. But I love having the visuals. It gives people a couple of reasons for that. Comfort in seeing, it helps them visually to understand what the information is given to them by divine spirit. So I found, yeah.
I'm just going
I'm
to.
trying to be creative here.
Oh, it's lovely to be able to see you. So yes, we were talking about. We just paused for a second because I just wanted to get more of a more light on you so I could see you. And you're talking about the Russian cards, and you're saying that people you can do it without, but that people just feel more comfortable. Tend to feel more comfortable with, and you saying, I think that being able to see, is it to be able to see the narrative?
It's to able to see the narrative, and also it with a picture. I think it helps them along with the narrative and with the guidance of the messages. It helps them to remember more of what is happening at that time. But one thing that's amazing about doing this kind of work, I find, is when you do the readings, you can always change your outcome. So if someone is just looking at like, I don't want this to happen, I remind them in that every individual has the power within to change your destiny, no matter what. But and that's the truth.
And that's really a life affirming thing to hear, because that I could imagine that might be a reason why people could feel a little bit guarded about having a reading, because they may be a little bit fearful about what they might discover. But having said that, I think I've had a reading on like once or twice. I should definitely have. I'd love to have a reading with you. And so is that the similar to the tarot? Because you do the Russian, we talk about the Russian, and then you do tarot card readings as well. So it's a similar approach. But I also know, which I don't know if it came up in the first interview that we did, that you are a Reiki master as well.
Yes, I am. And that was quite a journey of itself. Usually when people learn Reiki, they learn it from one teacher. So basically from point A to point B, I never do anything typical in my life. That's never been the case with me. So it actually started when I was living in New England with one lady who was a master in Massachusetts. I recall the store was called Circles of Wisdom. So basically that's how I began that journey. And whether you do Reiki 1, if you learned 1, 2, or 3, once you're what they call it an attunement, so it's basically bringing spiritual symbols into the body, and pretty much there are ways of how we open it up. And most of us do I call it a universal prayer because it's non-religion. The beautiful ring, it's just divine energy through the body, and it helps open up your body and whatever it needs to heal on its own. It just helps invoke that. What I find amazing about Reiki, it's used everywhere, and they've been incorporating in a lot of hospitals, especially for those for post-surgery or after. And I remember it has helped an uncle of mine when he was alive. I remember Andy, Uncle Andy. He attests to that. And when he had prostate, and he was one of the fortunate ones for it to be gone, basically. And he had the treatments, but he vows that the Reiki treatment helped a lot. And I think it prolonged his life 20 years. It really did.
Oh,
So
that's
something
amazing.
When you're open to it and you ask permission and you trust, it really works. Yeah, it really does.
And I think it's an amazing thing. And I think it's really, from that story that you've just given, the fact that they're now using it in certain hospitals, because sometimes you must be familiar with this, and also I imagine patient, because this is some way of being that you, as you shared in the first interview, that you always felt that you had this spiritual alignment for healing, and these that it's really has been a natural way of being for you for an early age. But something that I've seen, and that not just I've seen, that it's not uncommon for these practices to be seen as alternative medicines and to be on the sidelines for ages, and the same was true with acupuncture ages ago. I know that's not exactly the same because it's a kind of hands-on thing with but it's Chinese medicine, isn't it? But at one point, I can remember at one point growing up, that being on the sidelines, and now it's very much part of mainstream treatment. And so it's how does that feel to have it endorsed in that way? Or do you feel that you didn't really ever need it to be endorsed? But in terms of, or the acceptance of it into hospitals, how does that feel, that knowledge?
Oh, I love that they're so open to it. I think that knowledge is so important, and to be able to be open to science, but also to be able to trust that it does work, and that they are willing to be educated in that aspect. I mean, if we can help most people's lives, and what's amazing about Reiki is it works on everything. People don't realize this. I have I haven't met her yet in person. Her name is Melanie, and she lives out in St. Petersburg. And we just had this discussion about Reiki recently, and how she's actually is using it on our planet, on Earth. Florida, unfortunately, has increased pollution, and we're doing all the best we can in the state to keep the ecosystem up. And she noticed recently in St. Petersburg, this ocean sign, and she said something that haunted me. So she couldn't stay there for 20 minutes. She was attempting to do Reiki with her group. And she says the smell was so overbearing, she had to leave. Oh. So what it comes right down to is energy is in our plants, in our water, in every living thing. And there's actually a book about that, believe it or not. So I'll have to get that with you later. But it actually, if we put out love to the water, believe it or not, just with doing our Reiki with our hands, we're actually healing that water and those chemicals. So it's actually helping with the water response very well. Same with animals. I've actually done Reiki on cats before.
Have you?
I have up north. I did. A lady had a cattery. I remember this Carol. She had Egyptian mouse, and I won't forget this. She had me come out with this particular case of one of them who had problems with, I'm going to say, his delicately going, basically to stop it from spraying. And it took a while. This cat was stubborn, and his name was Magic. But after 2 months of doing that, the cat stopped that behavior and didn't have a problem since. It was a very unique situation. I said, Carol, don't give up on me. We're going to get through this crazy cat. And lo and behold, it worked because she didn't want to get rid of it. You know what I mean?
I hope there weren't too many accidents in the process of the Reiki.
I was lucky.
But that's wonderful to know that, as you said, it can be Reiki because it's, as from what I understand of what you said, that's divine energy. You're saying it's divine energy that you're channeling through you, and that it's given, can be extended to environmental situations or with animals. So if people have pets that are sick as well, because I personally have associated that as being Reiki as being something that would be just with people. I wasn't aware of that. So that's wonderful to know, and also that you've done it too. And so you've spoken about that, and also I remember from the last interview that it's something that you had with you since childhood. So just for anyone that that might not have seen the last interview that we did, you want to talk a little bit about your experiences around how you came to realize that you have this gift?
Wow, it's really interesting on how that came about, and I don't know how to put it in a real good verbiage of how to describe this. When I was a little girl, I knew things that I didn't understand how I knew them or understood them, to be honest with you. And felt things that just was like, I was that kid. I always asked my mother incessive questions. Why is this? And, you know, in growing up the way we did, growing up Catholic, it didn't add up in my head. Like none of this made, even Christianity to me back then didn't make any sense. But I believe in our previous interview, I explained how I had an invisible friend named Charlie. And that's how I discovered it at 3. And I see him all the time. He was very harmless. He just hung out with me. And he dressed, I gotta say, like in the 20s, if you picture that area with how the men had the zoot suits and the fedora, the original, I call it the original fedora hat, and had that just dress up. But I think I used to play house with him. But I was the only one who could see him. But of course, my grandmother, who, you know, was always taking care of me when my mother used to work, because my mother was divorced at the time before she remarried. So, but it didn't bother my grandmother. And she was a very strict Catholic grandmother. She was fascinated with that. She goes, that must be one of Terri Ann's, and they called me Terri Ann at that time. And said, oh, that must be one of Terri Ann's imagination friends. That's okay. But that's what they said. They don't understand that. They pass up like, oh, it's just an imaginary friend and she's playing with.
Yeah. And for you, he wasn't imaginary.
No, it was real. It was very real to me. I believe hereditary, it is on both sides of my family, my father and my mother. But my mother, love God rest her soul, she just pushed it like, no, this is not right. This is not, as I was getting older, it was not normal. It was not the norm. I mean, I went to a therapist to make sure there was nothing wrong with me. And then they're like, she's fine. So it's different. How I can explain this, it's different in this time that we live now, that I'm noticing parents are more encouraging with their children to have gifts and don't shut them out. They come to someone like me, and they have come to other people at the metaphysical stores, and they're open about it. And I love that. I said, you need to encourage your children, whatever gifts they got. Don't shun them out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's
Absolutely.
beautiful.
I think
Yeah.
when sometimes people don't understand, or it can be an area that people can have fears around, because of our way of conceptualizing the world, that it doesn't necessarily, it's not accepted in a way that it's normalized, and so therefore there can be stigma and fear attached around this area, spirituality, and of having a contact
Yes.
with those that are not in this world. And so, yeah, and so from what you're saying, that was, well, how was that? That must have felt challenging as a child growing up,
It
having
really
something that,
was.
yeah, that felt so natural to you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But then at what point did you kind of embrace it and think, okay, this is what I'm about, and this is feels totally natural?
Um, when I was 15, when I was 15 years old, I've come to embrace it. And although I had to learn early on to be careful with divination and its tools when you're growing and when you're, and we all grow up hormonally and are developing and whatnot. What I found interesting, and this is probably a controversial divination tool, so parents get very overprotective, and I wouldn't let your kid touch this particular thing until they're 18 plus, if that. And witches have embraced this. It's called a Ouija board, and Ouija board can be taboo if it's not used properly. As a child, it's not a Milton Bradley game. It's really not. I've seen it do things that it should not ought to be doing and shouldn't be touched. Because one thing when you use a Ouija board or you use cards or we use oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it. It'll come back to me. But when we use any of these tools, we always call in those we on the other side that are of good beings, of divine. There are things I have yet to scientifically learn that some of the things that are of this world are not of this world, that are there's light energies and there's dark energies. So we'll put a simplistic term. And you can invite something you're not unknowingly invite, and it can overtake you.
Mm.
So that's why we have to be responsible when we use these tools and we're helping people. And I always set my intention before I see a client, and I always put in power, protection, whatever that may be. And you meet people from different backgrounds. When I do my readings, I'm non-religious. I'm non-dominational. I'm not attached to anything. So I'm very respectful and mindful to whoever comes to that. So it's like going to a therapist or, a doctor's office. Whatever stays private in that information, it stays there. It's confidentiality like anything else. So, so when you're growing a teenager, you got to be careful and just aware of what feels good to you and what doesn't. But with that tool, I mean, it's had bad reputation. When used correctly, it is a very helpful tool. But with the Ouija boards, make sure you're asking for divine protection before you go touching that thing.
And as you said, previously and just then, they are tools, because what's coming through, you don't necessarily need any of these things. They can't help you, but they can put the person that you're speaking with and working with at ease. And so it must be a really rewarding experience for you to be doing this kind of work, and for this feeling purposeful, presumably for you. And so at the moment, I've spoken with you on a few occasions, and you've spoken about some of the fairs that you're doing. So what are the ways that you express what you're doing at the moment? You're telling me a little bit about, is it moonbeams?
Tina Marie's gonna love you for this after today. I know she advertises like the Dickens. So Moonbeams, what it is, it's a metaphysical store locally located in Crystal River, Florida, and I live nearby there. So it's a community where her and her husband have opened this. I think they've been in business for 4 years. I cannot believe already. Time goes by so quickly. So she all kinds of neat things in store. So there are lots of stones. Just to give you an example, I just bought this recently. It's the
Oh,
tree
that
of
is.
life. It's aventurine. Aventurine actually brings in prosperity and money if you believe in that sort of thing. But it's just a lovely color.
Oh,
Uh, so just
yes.
to give an example of what she sells there, they sell all types of tarot cards, books. Oh,
And so
beautiful
you're, yeah,
memorabilia.
and so you've been going there a couple of times?
Yes, and for a couple years back, we used to have different readers. She has them come into the store, and we did temporary space. But now that they've grown so much, she's keeping them down to doing fairs only, which is fine. And she's wants to promote more doing educational spots like on the weekends. So she'll have an aura photographer come in one weekend. Someone will speak about how to do card readings, and it just goes on and on. So
And
she'll
what are
have
you going to be, what are you doing there?
what I'll be doing. Well, my first time we're working on is me actually doing protection for people who are empathic or highly sensitive energies. So
Oh,
I'm going to do a class on that. I think it'll be beneficial for people just so you can function. What people don't realize, for those who are non-empathic, we feel everything. And if we don't protect ourselves, it gets very overwhelming. So it sounds, I know it sounds sci-fi.
no, it
Even I'm hearing
doesn't.
as I say it and know how it sounds, but we're all connected and we all have energy. So some of us who function this way, it helps us, it prevents us from getting sick, because we can take on another energy from someone unknowingly and get us sick. I actually helped out a friend of mine. I'm going to leave her name anonymous just for her, just for her privacy. But she came to me and she says, my energy has been growing, Terry, because she's been getting a lot of clients, and she lives in England. And she said, recently I've been feeling sick to my stomach. What should I do? So I just gave her a simple on how to protect herself. And then I checked in with her the next day. She goes, how you doing? She goes, oh, I'm doing a lot better. Thank you.
Oh,
So
that's fantastic.
it encouraged me to say, something, I'm going to do a little research with this. And even with wearing stones, no one's crazy to wear them. There's a reason why sometimes we need to wear things to protect ourselves.
So the
Um,
stones have different kind of qualities as well.
yes, it does. And if you're open to it, like I noticed, for example, amethyst, I've used amethyst forever. That actually helps with, healing the mind and the body. But I remember I was reading somewhere, if you have addictive personality issues, like if someone's an alcoholic, for example, or it could be eating, it could be anything like that. I noticed, it's going to sound odd, but I noticed when I have used that more, it has helped me curb down that. I admit I am someone who has come from a family of addiction. So you find research to find yourself some peace, whatever that works for you. So even today, if people don't agree with this, I'm respectful to that. But I just
So
do
you
what works
might,
for me.
right,
Yeah,
and so you might recommend stones as well, or it
I
could be
do.
part of the conversation.
Yes.
That's something I think, yeah, we have had a few chats and that didn't come up, or maybe it has. What you were saying around the around people protecting boundaries, because as being a metaphysical, spiritual energy healer, of course, there are so many ways that that could manifest, and so many ways and on so many levels that that could help people, as far as, because I was thinking a little bit about this, because
Mm.
traditionally we can as a member of the public, as a punter if you like,
Hmm.
I might associate it with which is totally fair enough, as a medium reading for somebody that has passed,
Hmm.
or something to do with guidance around your life, or just what's going on, or basically the stuff that you can't see.
Right.
But of course, it can be very specific and very niche, and protecting around boundaries for empaths. There must be quite a few different niche ways. I say niche, that sounds like it's kind of minimizing it or trivializing. I don't mean it, but let's say just
No.
particular ways,
No.
particular ways that are more focused and more polarized, that can help people, that perhaps people haven't particularly thought of. Can you think of any others?
Well, a lot of us do this practice, and I thank the Native Americans for this one. Sage. And a lot of us do this for just cleansing. It can be cleansing your home just from negative energy to just yourself before you go out in the day. If you can withstand the smell. I mean, some people cannot. And there's ways around if that doesn't float your fancy. So what it will do is I'll put like a power of attention to bring love into my home, or protection or peace. And usually we use it in like a shell format. The most authentic too is getting an actual feather, but something that was given, or if you happen to find one on the ground, that's better. I learned through another practitioner, when you light it up, don't use a lighter. You actually use a match when you do sage, because it's all earth. It's all respect to the Mother Earth, interesting enough. So you want to open your windows, and there's a reason when you do it in your house, because you want to escape anything negative. You want to hold trapped. The point is you're cleaning your home. So it's not just house cleaning. It's not just the visual that you're cleaning out anything you don't want welcome, and you want to keep it right out. Now, and that people have used it for cleansing homes for people that have had problems. If I want to go a little further, some people with some annoying spirits or ghosts that shouldn't be. So it has a beautiful multi-use, and of course, Native Americans use it for ceremony. And also it's a nice protected space too, if you're doing a meditation group. So you're kind of keeping the spiritual energy.
That's brilliant. And yeah, so cleanse it, which is, again, I think if somebody was, if you've had experiences in your place for a little while, if you've had some experiences that you're wanting like a fresh start, or if you're moving somewhere, or if you're leaving somewhere, there could be any number of, well, not any, but quite specific reasons why to get some kind of spiritual cleansing or energy cleansing in your home. That reminds me a little bit of when people talk about feng shui. I don't know that much more about feng shui, but I think from a kind of energy, from an energy healing perspective, fascinating that we've touched on two places, two examples of where it can be really quite specific. When, as I said, sometimes people can have more general views of where it can be applicable. So it's interesting to explore these specific ways in people's everyday lives where energy healing and energy clearing and can be utilized, can be really of great benefit to people in their everyday experiences, but quite particular. There was another one that was occurring from, manifestation, which is a big one, right?
Yes, it is.
Manifestation. And I do, and I remember you saying from one of our conversations that for you, manifestation is something that comes quite because of the work, because of everything that you are and your spirituality, that it comes quite easy for you in that sense.
It does. Actually, a while back, I'd say I've had many teachers. So Louise Hayes was one of my first, I got to tell you, since the 90s. So whenever I seen your post with Louise Hayes, I'm like, all right, she's my girl.
And that reminds me, I must have a listen to her morning. She does a lovely morning mantra meditation. That's what it was. Yeah, that's a nice reminder. Sorry, I was interrupting.
No, you're good. That's fine. It was a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And my mom used to have that book too. And I remember a girlfriend of mine who's unfortunately deceased now, Patricia, in Lunenburg. In the 90s, I remember she says, Terry, you need this book. You need this book. You need to read this book. And I remember looking through this book and I saw these affirmations. I said, and I thought, what a lovely idea. And I never saw it from that perspective. And then when you start seeing your health elements, which I found that fascinating too, what the mindset of what the cause of it is. I'm not saying there's not DNA. I'm not saying there's other environmental factors that can affect your body. I mean, I understand that. but the basis of what she was doing in alignment of what's going on was just so mind-opening. And I think she was one of the first teachers to tell me, you can manifest and put anything you set your mind to. It took me a long time to understand and realize that I lived in such anxiety and fear for more than half my life. And it's not judgmental. It's not right, wrong, or good or bad. It's just part of my journey. It's part of my karma path in this time around. So she really opened that up. But when I had some later teachers explain to me, Terri, you can write this down and see how things manifest. Now, this is going to sound odd. So for those of you, and I hope you don't mind me, I'm trying not to bring Duran into this, but I'm just giving you, there's an example to this. So I didn't think I was going to go to that Halloween concert, but something told me, Terri, write this down. It was my friend Barbara. Terri, write a picture what it looks like. I said, are you mad? I don't know how I'm going to do this. Okay. So I was writing down how it was going to look like. And then everything fell into place. I said, and they fell into place really good. I was afraid to ask for a little help and assistance, but I got people who helped me to get there.
Oh, and that's wonderful.
It is beautiful. So that just giving you the power of manifestation. You can create what you believe in. And the bonus to that weekend was I met new friends I didn't think I would. So even though some things was a little bit disappointing, I didn't let that get to me. There was a lot of highlights to that whole entire thing.
It was yeah.
So that's my point on manifestation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a wonderful example, because I remember meeting you there, and I loved hearing about your weekend. And so manifestation in terms of releasing or facilitating energy in others, do you think that could be something that would be a possibility for you to support other people with?
Absolutely. I'd love to support people that way.
As well as, as I'm just curious on from everything that you said about what you do, in terms of like just aligning energies and supporting other people with manifestation for their own spiritual or whatever it is that they're kind of they may be feeling a bit stuck with. So I'm just curious.
Yeah, I would, because I know what it's like to feel stuck. And I know what it feels like in your mindset to prevent your own happiness and not taking those risks. Trust me. And it's like, and it's no blame to anybody. It's what you learn. I mean, really, I give hats off to parents who let their kids grow and be what they become to be. And sometimes I love it more when I see the manifestations that are unconventional. I've always been the cheerer of the underdog. So actually, from seeing the movie recently, The Fabelmans, that really opened up my eyes. I love Steven Spielberg.
I've got to see that.
You need to see that movie. That is a special movie. And it's kind of based on his true story about being developing into becoming this film and getting into the film industry. Being at all odds, being Jewish and in the kickbacks they had. But I love this character because this character was so brave. If we could take that brave heart into our world and be whatever it is you want to be, it'd be pretty amazing. So I understand about blocks. I understand about being scared. I understand about getting out of your comfort zone. And
can support others with that, presumably,
others with that.
With your from a spiritual perspective, with that spiritual capacity to be able to support people unblocking those kind of limitations. There's such an abundance of ways with your gifts with your spiritual gifts that you are, from this conversation and from conversations we had previously, that you clearly are able to support people. And it really is truly wonderful and fascinating and exciting to hear about that, Terri. And I know that I know that it's like early in the morning for you. So, and you're going to get ready for work. But I just want to say thank you
Yeah.
so much. It's really, really exciting hearing about everything that you're doing. And as you said, there's whether it's the Russian cards or the tarot cards, or it's the Reiki healing or your medium work, and that also that these can be tools that are really coming from the foundation being your spiritual gift from as you're saying, from divine energy coming through you, and that you're all for it and all for sharing that and supporting people with that. And so I'm really excited to see how you're how that's going to develop for you over this next coming year, because I know you're developing your creative business around this, so your metaphysical business. So really, so look forward to seeing how this develops for you. And are there any? Do you have? I don't know if you're at this point yet, because we have. Do you have? You have your Facebook. Do you currently promote that through your personal Facebook page? Or I know you're doing some of the fairs, or do you have Instagram where you do it, or is it mainly through your Facebook?
I do have Instagram. I'm actually going to be trying out lives, doing the live feed. So I posted that last night. So my commitment is the next, to start doing lives like once or twice a week. So it could be what I'm doing. It could just be inspiration. And just sometimes it just could be, okay, we're being authentic here. So it's just so I can get myself used to engaging people. I don't love public speaking at all. So you have no idea, it forces me out of my shell. But I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for other people. It's not just for myself. It's being outward focused, is to share.
And you're passionate about who you want to support, and so with that, you kind of, as you said, you kind of you transcend the personal in that sense, because it's as you said, your purpose and your passion is to develop your metaphysical business this year. And so I wish you so much joy and excitement and love for the development of it, and I can't wait to see how it is for you, and how it is for you at the moment as well is exciting, because it's really about embracing.
It's exciting, and it's scary. I won't lie here. I'm excited. It's excited. It's scary, but it's a good scary, and
it's a good scary. It's great scary.
Fantastic. I mean, I love being shaken out of my comfort zone, and I can't say that for many things, but in this case, I can.
Yeah, for change to occur. Yeah, we could stay in our safe place all our lives, couldn't we? And then wonder why things have stayed exactly safe and the same. Or we can do exactly what you're doing, which is embracing your metaphysical business and developing that and progressing that, and starting with that. Look forward to the lives. I'll be finding you live. So I'll post your Facebook page for now. I'll post your Facebook page. I know you're going to be developing a website this year as well, and there's going to be lots more exciting things to develop your business. So lots and lots of love to you, Terri. Have a great day, because I know it's early there.
Have a wonderful day too.
Yeah, and so lovely chatting with you. Bye. Bye. And seeing you.
Nice seeing you too.
Yeah, thanks for the lamp.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's good. We want to see. I want to see you. All right. Bye.
Bye.